Hey, welcome in or welcome back. My name is Avril, and in this corner of the internet, we chat about writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. Today is something of a follow-up to last week's video. So last week, I officially introduced Project Scrimmage, which I've been referring to as my For-Funsies project. And I admittedly kind of rushed that video out. I wanted to have it out in time for the Writer Pit event happening over on Instagram. So I don't think I really went into much detail about what I mean by a For-Funsies project or why I have a For-Funsies project. So that's kind of what this video is meant to be. And feel free to chime into the comments wherever you are, but it is unnecessarily hot in my corner of Connecticut right now. Actually, Alexa, what is the temperature outside right now?
Right now, it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
90 degrees. What is going on? Like, it's May. Why is it so hot in May? If you missed the last video, Project Scrimmage is the working title for my contemporary romance project. It's about an NFL quarterback and an escape room game master, and it's something that I've been referring to as a For-Funsies project that I'll be working on kind of in tandem with A Tided Love. So A Tided Love is one of several different historical projects that I've had in the works on and off for a while. A Tided Love specifically, I started for NaNoWriMo 2023, and I've kind of painted myself into a corner with that one, so to speak. And when I say that I've painted myself into a corner with that project, I just kind of mean that I've been working on it for so long and I keep getting myself turned around. And even though I know roughly what I need to do to fix it and get it back on track, I just haven't quite figured out how to jumpstart that. And because I feel like I've gotten myself turned around with that project, I also feel like I've gotten myself backed into a corner. And even though I know theoretically what I need to do to take the next step forward, in a way, I'm kind of worried that by taking that next step, I'm only going to create a bigger mess. You know, you step in wet paint and you start leaving footprints everywhere, or you start smudging it and you get like an uneven texture. And I've kind of put myself in the position where the only thing I can do right now is to let that proverbial paint dry a little bit before I take any moves and take any steps toward improving it. And for reasons that I'm not going to go into in this video, this project feels like the one. It just really resonates with me and where I am, not just as a writer, but in life in general. And it's just one of those things that I need to get right. And that is wildly intimidating. But then we also start looking ahead in terms of everything that goes into getting it right and getting it published. I do want to go trad pub for this book. I do want to take the traditional publishing route. And that also comes with so much pressure and that fear of rejection. And yeah, I know that rejection is part of the game as a writer, and that my book is going to get rejected a lot before it finds its home. And I have that expectation. Obviously, that's not the goal. And in a way, it's kind of like videos from Camille Jett, where she is attending all these auditions in New York, and her goal isn't landing the part or even getting a call back. She phrases it as trying not to be seen at an audition, but just putting herself out there and attending all these auditions because theater is so competitive. And the same can be said for writing, where, you know, your book may not be the right fit for the list at that time for that agent, just as you may not be the best fit for this character in this production. And even though I know deep down that it's going to be a lot of rejection before A Tided Love or really any of my other books find their home on the shelf, I also feel like I have myself convinced that if I make this book as perfect as I can, there will be fewer rejections down the line. And that will, of course, depend on the market at the time and which agents are open to submissions. At the end of the day, it needs to be more about getting it written than it is getting it right. But that's kind of a step back that I've forgotten how to take. So I decided that I needed a total reset, not just a new project, but a new subgenre, a whole new writing journey that's going to be kind of running parallel with everything I'm doing, the historical stuff. And with Project Scrimmage, it kind of feels like the project found me. I didn't necessarily go out looking for a brand new contemporary project to be working on. It just kind of happened where this one joke with a coworker kept spiraling and spiraling, and here we are. So, and along with being my first real foray into contemporary romance, this is also the first thing since college that I've written where it's in the first person and in present tense. I'm also pantsing it, which, if you know anything about me, you know that I refer to myself as a plantser, but I have a history of trying to make myself into a plotter. I've talked about this on the blog plenty, but in my earliest days of being a writer, all I was hearing was that you need to have a full on outline, you need to be a plotter, you need to plot every single detail of your book before you begin writing it. And I would try to do that, but it always ended up falling to the wayside in one way or another. One thing would happen, and then that entire plot line I had come up with would be thrown out the window because the trajectory of the story had changed. But because I had, for the longest time, been told that you need to be a plotter and you need to have all of the details figured out, I would then put that project on pause, rework the outline, and then pick it up again, only to have to rework the outline again. And it created this whole cycle of plot, write for maybe 2 chapters, and then plot again. And I feel that I really struggled with NaNoWriMo because of that. There's an entire month before NaNoWriMo called Preptober, where it is dedicated to having all those details figured out and doing all of your plotting and all of your background work before you begin writing on November 1st. And I did Preptober, and it burned me out before NaNoWriMo even began. A Tided Love was actually my project for NaNoWriMo 2023. So I was already setting myself up to fail with this project. And then somewhere along the line with The Tided Love, I realized that I am never going to be a plotter, and that is okay. That I don't have to keep trying to make myself into the perfect writer to get the story written. And that realization has been thrilling and liberating. But in a way, because A Tided Love has a history of being a plotted novel, and it has that history of reworked outline after reworked outline after reworked outline, I don't think it's the right project for me to learn how to pants and really find myself as a writer that way. Whereas with Project Scrimmage, I've been just going with the flow and having fun. And that is really the core of a For-Funsies project. It's something that I'm doing for fun and for me. And that's why the idea of having a For-Funsies project has been really appealing to me lately. It's that ability to just have fun with writing again and play and experiment that I haven't really allowed myself to do with The Tided Love. And I don't have that same pressure of I need to get this right because I'm going to query it. And let me be very, very clear here. I am not saying that a self-published author is not putting in the same work that a traditionally published author is when it comes to their manuscript. In a way, a self-published author is doing more work because they're taking on all of figuring out the cover design and the formatting and all of the marketing, which, mind you, a traditionally published author is going to have to do a lot of their own marketing as well. That is a topic for another day. I think that indie authors have that bad rap of, well, anybody can put anything in the Kindle store and boom, you're an author. And I'll be honest, I unfortunately did hold that perception when it came to publishing and my goals early on, and that has also kind of shifted a little bit. While I still want to traditionally publish my historical projects, I do think that Project Scrimmage will be a self-published project because I want that control over it, in the sense that I am able to just do what works better for me and not be worrying about the market or earning back my advance or anything like that. Okay, actually, I don't think control is the word I'm looking for here. I think the word that I'm looking for is freedom. Because as an indie author, you do have that ability to determine the style of your cover and the formatting and all those little details that are typically handled in-house and therefore chosen in-house unless you're a bigger name. So I feel that in terms of a For-Funsies project, it makes sense to have it be a self-published project where I'm just doing it for me and I'm just doing it for fun and to play. There we go. I think the humidity is getting to the washi tape that I have on the cord for my camera because it keeps kind of angling that way. So Apologies for any inconsistent angles that might be popping up in this video. Long story short, my webcam is attached to a little like tripod thingy that kind of screws onto the edge of my table, but for whatever reason the thread isn't quite lining up. So if I were to have the camera screwed on all the way tightly, it would be facing the other way, and that is not going to work. So what I've done is I have it angled like so, and then I have some tape to hopefully hold those wires in place. Clearly it doesn't work as well as I would like it to. Maybe someday we'll get an actual tripod, but for now, we work with what we've got. I have no idea what I was about to say. At the time of recording this, I am on chapter 3 of Project Scrimmage, and I am having the absolute time of my life with this project. I am loving the dialogue I've come up with and really getting into my characters' heads, which, as we know, is something I have struggled with for a long time. And I think this has really been a good exercise in interiority that I can bring over to A Tided Love as well, which is being written in the third person, as opposed to Project Scrimmage being written in the first person. And then the other part of this is that I'm feeling more motivated to work on this project because I'm having fun with it and because I'm feeling more confident about it. Like, I'm really excited to drop it into the shared drive I have with my writing group and get their feedback on it. Whereas with A Tided Love, because I've been feeling like it needs so much work, and I haven't been feeling as confident with that project, where I haven't wanted to subject other people to it. Whereas with Project Scrimmage, it feels like I want to show this off. And that has been so refreshing and really, I think, has rejuvenated my writing in a way. So, and I know that working on different projects at the same time may not be for everybody, and that is absolutely okay. I'm not saying that you have to have a For-Funsies project, but I am highly recommending it because I have noticed a definite shift in my writing since I began Project Scrimmage, and I can't wait to see how that impacts A Tided Love and Bound to the Heart and all the other historical things that I've been working on. But anyway, I think that's where I'll leave this video. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day here with me in this corner of the internet. Be sure to like and subscribe and do all the things for more writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. And one thing I've been bad about doing, but I will start doing for videos, is having all my socials and my blog linked down below, so feel free to check those out as well. And be sure to tell me what you're writing in the comments, whether that is a For-Funsies project, a mainstay project, or anything in between. I would love to learn more about that. But yeah, I will see you on the next one. Bye.